Welcome to your 12-minute HR lesson. Today we're talking about a Taylor Swift song and how this song, Fortnight, can help you think about speaking up, when to speak up, and what to say when you're speaking up. What type of voice do you want to be in the workplace? Curious about how Taylor can give you guidance? Let's go. I don't want to have to talk about Taylor Swift, but we're going to talk about Taylor Swift. We're not going to talk about Taylor Swift in her entirety of her music career. It's only 12 minutes. We don't have that time. But we're going to talk about one song. We're going to talk about Fortnight. We're going to talk about the fact that Taylor Swift wrote a song like Fortnight and put it out there, and how interesting that is. Now, I don't want this to go unsaid. I am not wild about having to talk about Fortnight. I am not the target market for Taylor Swift. I have an 8-year-old daughter. There's a lot of Taylor Swift in our house. And I increasingly have found myself grudgingly respectful, appreciative, and enjoying her work, going, when did this happen? How do I relate to this? And is that a change in me, or is it a change in her, or is it somewhere in between? But there is a song that is now lodged in my head, which I increasingly find fascinating. And I need to talk to you about this. And I kind of don't want to. But here we are. Let's talk about Fortnight. Fortnight is a song that she put out April 2024. It's a collaboration, a duet with Post Malone. It's a beautiful song. It's really good. It's all the things I tend to like in a song. It's simple. It's beautifully harmonized. It's wonderfully layered. It's undersung rather than oversung, which I always appreciate. It's simple beat, not that many hooks, but where there are hooks, they're really well used. What's so interesting about the song is what the song is about. And the fact that Taylor put out a song about this, it is. Because at the end of the day, it is a tragedy about the unrequited love and feelings of two suburban people who have an affair for a fortnight. The story, if I understand it correctly, is that Taylor Swift's character had an affair with her neighbour for 2 weeks. I have a little interesting caveat here that it's my interpretation that their 2-week love was an affair. Looking at what the internet has to say, I don't think that's absolutely clear. I've talked to other people and said, look, is this what you think's going on? And they've also formed the same opinion. But the internet is not so absolute that, yes, no, it was definitely an affair. So, look, I have to caveat that I think Taylor was clearly saying this. Other people don't see it quite so clearly. I think she's clearly implying that it was an affair. For others, the implication is not so strong. But either way, I think the topics and the concepts and the environment is quite risque. It's quite ambitious. They live next to each other. They make small talk. They chat at barbecues. They see each other's partner, and Taylor is angry. She is angry at her neighbour's wife. She thinks violent thoughts about her neighbour's wife. There's some beautiful lines in there which make you feel both sympathetic and highly unsympathetic to Taylor's character. I was a functioning alcoholic until no one noticed my new aesthetic. Screams to me selfish, self-absorbed, capricious, entitled. I was self-destructive until I realized no one was looking at me, and then I stopped. Her yearning and her love is tempered by her anger and her annoyance that this had happened to her. She loves this man and she doesn't want to. But also, perhaps the line I love the most, which is the most beautiful line, is, all of this to say, I hope that you're okay. And it's gorgeous because what it's saying is that irrespective of all these other stuff and all these other feelings, I still hope that you are all right. I still worry about you and hope the best for you, which is an extremely selfless thing to feel and to say. And again, that puts us in the camp of sympathizing with this character she is, who then turns around and talks about wanting to kill this man's wife, who is the victim in this circumstance. So complex, so nuanced, and I like the song. I can't get away from that. I like the song and I like that topic. But what I want to talk to you about is the fact that Taylor put this out there. This is, I don't even know what album. I don't know how long her career has been going on. Suffice to say, it's been a while. And even for her to do this at the top of her game, to tell a story that asks the audience to sympathize for a suburban philanderer, is so bold of her to do that. And that boldness is what I find fascinating. And it's that boldness that, to my mind, gives her such credibility. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about credibility. I want to talk to you about the fact that Taylor put out a song in which she said, I want you to look at this and think about this and see sympathy and see complexity and see nuance. And I want you to listen to what I have to say. I am not putting it out there because that's what I think you want to hear. I'm putting it out there because I think you will find this interesting to hear about. Urban infidelity. Who would have thought you could make a pop song about that? All right, buddy, bring it home. Why am I thinking about Fortnight, you're saying? You're going to have to make a big connection here. There's going to have to be a big leap, which is fair enough. Apologies, but a quick interruption with an ad for our company. This podcast is part of Pragmatic HR, part of the education that we give away for free. We are an HR training and education organization primarily. We do consulting as well, but primarily where our focus is upskilling HR professionals to being better at their job. These podcasts are really just tasters, small morsels of what we can do and how we can add value. To give an example, in our manager series, we have a course on strategic HRM, which helps you think about how you can have something new and distinct to say about something that everybody else is slightly thinking about, but not paying attention to. If you do our course, it helps you look at situations and see how you can add value with an HR input to the overall strategy of the business. If you go to our website, you'll find our training webinars. There's two ways in which you can access this. We do run ongoing live webinars. You can sign up to those and do that particular course. Alternatively, if the time doesn't suit you, it's too far away, for a lower price, you can watch that webinar on demand. Have a look at our website, pragmatichrm.nz, for all of our courses and all of our services. Anyway, back to Taylor. This is what I want you to think about. There's two things here that are interesting. First, let's talk about the fact that Taylor did something unique. Not that she tapped into a different topic that most other people wouldn't talk about, that she talked about something that instinctively we think people don't want to hear about it. And that, let me tell you about something that you don't want to hear about per se, that I can't be certain is something that people want to know about, is challenging, is interesting, and that is a voice that we aim for. We should aim to be someone who can say something different, who can say something apart from what people want to hear, from what people don't want to hear, say something unique. So there's an interesting thing that Taylor was talking about something, broaching a topic that's uncomfortable, that is unpleasant. This is a strength of voice that we should aim for, being someone who can say something that is different from what people want to hear, but it's a capacity, having the strength and the opinion to say something independent of whether the audience preferences. Now that's different from being contrarian. It's really easy to be contrarian. It's very easy to just figure out what people want to hear and then say the opposite. But this is different. There's a space in between that I want you to think about, which is coming up with something worth saying and saying it irrespective of the preferences of the audience. The second interesting point that I want to talk about is credibility. This is an interesting concept. This is the idea that not every voice is equal, that some people have greater credibility than others. Often comes from experience, often comes from success, often comes from having been there, done that, and proven themselves in this space. Not to take too wide a tangent, but a drill instructor who hasn't seen combat is going to be listened to much less than a drill instructor who has seen combat. So we do give credence and credibility to someone who has experience, who has had success in this space. So what's your takeaway from this? HR and managers in general. Most of our power and most of our authority comes from our capacity to be heard and listened to. What I want you to think about from this is what you are aiming for. You're aiming for late stage career, Taylor. You're aiming for a situation in which you can say, well, this is what I think needs to be heard. I'm saying it not just to agree with you, not just to disagree with you, but this is my independent opinion that I think is worth being listened to. So what we are aiming for is independence of thought, independence of audience preferences. Secondly, this is much easier done once we've established credibility, and that doesn't come from day one. That comes and that grows. So you don't expect from day one to be listened to, but the more that you are there giving free and frank and independent advice, irrespective of what other people want to hear, the more you'll build that credibility, the more your influence and your capacity to influence the good will grow. Not that you're keeping count, and it's unlikely that you're listening to these in chronological order. From my point of view, this is my 4th episode in which I talk specifically about a song, and 3 out of 4 of those are pop songs. I guess my caveat is, I'm not saying that there isn't interest and depth to be found in Metallica, but that's probably not a mutual interest that we're going to have, is it? Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me talk about Taylor Swift and angst about wanting to talk about Taylor Swift, angsting about enjoying Taylor Swift. As always, we have a website. It has services on it. You might want to look at those. It has courses. You might find them interesting. It has services. We can help you. If not, not a problem. Share us, post us, like us, all that good stuff so that other people can see this good thing we've got going here. Other people can join in. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time.